Warmly welcoming you to How Does She Do It, the podcast, with me, your host, Jo Ferroni. Join me on my journey as I explore finding a gentle balance in both business and life, because being kind to ourselves is our superpower. On today's podcast, I am delighted to welcome the multi-award-winning tutor and all-round superstar, Sarah Brouner, founder of SB Tutoring. Oh my gosh, I learned so much from her, and I guess that's no surprise, as sharing knowledge and educating is what she does best. We cover tons, and I feel that she has really turned her offering and work into glorious technicolor that I can now truly envisage and understand. Well-being, neurodiversity, and fab and connected conversation with teenagers are areas that really stood out to me, not to mention her immense resilience and belief, firmly supported by her husband when her clients disappeared overnight. Tune in and enjoy this deep journey of a conversation. You might recognise the name of today's sponsor of the episode. Sarah Brouner is a scientist turned multi-award-winning maths and science tutor and the owner of SB Tutoring. If I tell you that she is a Professional Tutor of the Year 2022, Homeschooling Tutor of the Year 2023 and SEN Tutor of the Year 2024, you'll understand that she really knows what she's doing. But as you're about to find out, there is so much more to Sarah than just winning awards. Working with children in a range of environments and whether neurotypical or diverse, Sarah positively impacts her students by creating a lifelong curiosity and love of learning, whether mainstream or homeschooled, giving children and teens confidence with their learning and opening up their ability to reach their full potential. Offering one-to-one, group and exam preparation sessions, Sarah covers all sciences and maths to GCSE and is an A-level biology specialist. If that doesn't tell you all you need to know, listen on. Head over to sbtutoringuk.com for more. Enjoy the show. Good morning, Sarah. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm really well. Thank you, Jo.
We are at the beginning of term, and just before we pressed record, we were talking about getting back into the new school routine. And I noticed that it's raining this morning, which I think it was your first day back today, wasn't it?
Yeah, it felt very appropriate, the weather, actually, that gloomy grey drizzle. It felt very appropriate for the occasion. Yeah.
that post-summer downer. Yes.
Yeah.
I did see, we've got a little school near us, and I did see many raincoat clad tiny little beings who are I think they're only on their second day of school ever. Well, they'll have been enjoying jumping in the puddles, I expect.
Yeah, oh bless.
It's lovely to have you here today, my love. We haven't seen each other actually for quite some time, so it's an extra treat to have you on my screen and to be able to have this conversation with you, which is going to actually be full of questions I've probably wanted to ask you for ages but never got around to. So let's get started. Let's introduce you to our lovely listeners out there today. And I'd like to start with asking, what made you decide to work for yourself, and what came first? What came before working for yourself?
So being self-employed, working for myself was not in the plan. It wasn't a long-term plan to be self-employed. It kind of just happened naturally, I guess. Obviously, you make a decision along the line. Before I was a tutor, way before my career before, if you like, was as a scientist. And I worked in hospitals as what's known as a clinical physiologist. They do lots of different tests on people just to screen where they are health-wise. And if we can pick up anything early, and then we can pass them on to the right people. And that was in private healthcare. And then I worked my way up in there into management. Into something called clinical governance, and I was travelling the country doing that, visiting lots of different hospitals, checking up on them. I was probably that scary figure that popped out of nowhere and comes to an audit and frightened everybody. But then I had children, and what was a conscious decision a long time ago was that when I have children, I will spend that first 3 to 5 years solely with those children. Everything else kind of gets put on hold. I know they're really important years. And for me, I know it's not for everybody, but for me, that was what I really wanted to do. And then as they kind of got babies that started to walk and crawl and all the rest of it, I got itchy and wanted to go back into work. And I took lots of different jobs, one of which was working with special educational needs children and disabled children at a local charity called Link Able. But they couldn't give me more hours. So I started looking around for other work, and I really wanted to get back into science again. I didn't really mind what it might be. I knew I didn't want to go back to the job I had because of all the travel, and it just was not conducive to work with a small family, young family. So I kind of was scrolling through agency websites. It was Boxing Day, actually. I thought, fresh start, new year. And I came across one that a job that wanted a science tutor for a few hours a week, literally 2 to 3 hours a week. And I thought, yeah, I'll give that a go. I'll start with 2 hours a week and see how I like this job. It was a job. And then I loved it. I fell in love from the moment I met those first few students and was like, I can't believe this is a thing. I can't believe people get paid to do this. and I absolutely loved it. Yeah, my first student was an A-level PE student. And actually he was really dyslexic, went to a special needs school as well for that. And so just helping him through it really was the deep end, but I learned very quickly, and my skills I'd learned at my previous jobs really come into play. And after a year of working for a couple of agencies, me and my husband were like, I could probably do this for myself. He always gives me the prod, by the way. I'm very cautious as a person, and I need him to give me that little shove to do it. And I set up what was SB Tutoring Surrey. I've now lost the Surrey a couple of years ago because I tutor students internationally and all over the UK. So Surrey didn't feel right on the end. So now it's just SB Tutoring, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, why make yourself small? That's
true.
I'll
have to have a Mars division soon when we colonise Mars, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it would only be right, of course. Can I just pause you for a second? I love it. Sounds like your husband is a real cheerleader of you and your business. And I think it's really worth, well, let's shout out to him and really celebrate that. I'm really lucky that my husband is as well. But I'm very aware over all the years that I've hosted networking and, work one-to-one with my clients, that not all partners or families, indeed, whether that might be parents, even if people are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, they don't always offer that support, and they can almost go the other way and sort of question, are you sure you want to be doing that? Should you not be getting a proper job? But the fact that you're talking about how your husband is always the one that gives you the prod, gives you that nudge to, because he believes in you and he wants you to see that actually you can go further.
Yeah.
How cool
he's
is
still
that?
like that. Yeah, he's an amazing man. We've been together an awfully long time, almost 24 years next month. And he is my number one cheerleader, and I'm so grateful for him. And I like to think I'm his number one cheerleader, and that's kind of how our marriage works. It very much is a partnership. It's never 50-50, and I don't think marriages should be 50-50. It waxes and wanes. And his career kind of went in one direction last year, and I kind of sat back, and then now I sort of ramp up and he sits back, and that's how it's worked. But yeah, I'm very grateful for James and all his, I see it over enthusiasm, to be honest. I see he's a very much an optimistic person, but he is very level-headed, and he will tell me whether he thinks something will work or not, or to try something. But yeah,
that's
you're
brilliant.
absolutely right.
Yeah, I just thought it was really worth celebrating that, because that's really lovely. So you dropped Surrey, and you working internationally. Can I hazard a guess that the pandemic was a time when were you able to still work? I know you obviously would have had the family at home, but did moving things onto Zoom help with bolstering the reach?
Pandemic. So I started SB Tutoring in 2017, so it'd be going maybe 2.5 years, maybe nearly 3 years. And I had just kind of started to do some online tutoring using Skype. Never even heard of Zoom. So that was a steep learning curve as well.
Yeah.
But when it was announced that the exams were scrapped and we would lock down, I lost 80% of my clients, of my business overnight.
Goodness
And
me.
I remember watching the news bulletin, news at 10. I'd just come home from a family. The girl was in her final year of A-level. She was in tears. Mum was a head teacher. She was in tears for her primary school. I come home in tears. And my husband, supportive as ever, fixed me a very strong drink. And he was like, honestly, it'll be fine. You're in education, it'll be fine. And it took, I'd say, a week and a half. And then my books were fuller than ever. So within 10 days, I had this turnaround of hardly any students to more students than I've ever had before.
Can I ask how? Why?
Yeah. I
Amazing.
think parents had spent a week and a half trying to tutor their own children and realizing that's not an easy thing to do. And even my own children, Jo, it's so difficult to tutor your own children. Somehow patience is so much smaller between everybody. And tolerance, and being in that cooped in environment, there's no break. And the children were much younger then, both in primary school. One had just started school. And so the littlest one never wanted to sit at a computer and she was running around. And the eldest one was, I think, year 5. And again, Zoom for him is not good. He's definitely one of those children that would probably need one-to-one, face-to-face. And so he wasn't interested in the homeschooling. And so we had a difficult time. And my husband's in education as well.
Right.
So he's he's a university lecturer. And so he knows a thing or two. He's a scientist. And I remember my son turning around saying, "What do you even know about maths?" And my poor husband was heartbroken. He was heartbroken. His whole life is spent doing math. So I understand from a parent perspective that, maybe should we just get a tutor in and they spend an hour with the tutor and we know that they're getting their maths solidly done, especially those older children, because we knew the year 11s were not going to have exams, but we didn't know what happens to the years below them.
Yeah.
What happens to those children? And I'm still seeing effects from those children coming through now. So the year 11s now taking their exams, or that have just started, they would have joined secondary school that first year of the pandemic. So that's a huge transition. And they never had that social meeting. You know, when you start a new secondary school, it's all new beginnings and exciting. Yeah. You meet your new friends and you embed your way around school and the learning. And so I think I had an influx of inquiries from parents ripping their hair out, really, especially with maths, because it's one of those core subjects, isn't it? English and maths, I think.
Yeah. So
and then
important.
and then quickly adapt to the Zoom world. And my students tell me now, "Wow, you're a whiz, you're so quick." And I'm like, well, that's years. I wasn't at first. That's years of practice. But yeah, I think that's what happens. And I took shifts. So my husband was teaching online. And so he did the morning shift with the children, and I made him do all the kind of harder academic subjects, because in the morning they're more alert, so they're more receptive to that. And then I did all the fun. Oh, let's do some art and PE, and while he did his teaching in the afternoon. And so we took shift. Yeah, so it worked out eventually. Yeah.
Well done. And just thinking about that influx that you had, after you lost people from your books, those parents must have been so ridiculously grateful to have found you, because I should imagine these children would have been having better maths education than they would have had in a class of 35 kids. They had that one-to-one personal interaction. Yeah. And, comfortably at home, but, the parents would have known that the kids were using their brains and still working towards whatever the future might be. Yeah, but not diffused by being one of many in a school environment.
As I say, that one-to-one tuition, targeting everything that particular child needs. It, being at home on a computer, it minimises distraction. I think sometimes there's a bit of a myth that online is not as good as face-to-face. And actually, in most circumstances, it's even better because I have all the resources at my fingertips. And children love computers. They love being online. You know, you can't get them off gaming.
To them.
Yeah. They've grown up with it. And so, yeah, and it's the feedback I hear most often, actually, Jo. Thank goodness we found you. So that's the feedback I hear. Yeah.
I'm not surprised. How lovely is that? Also, you know, we were talking about how it's busy because it's a rainy day out there. You know, the roads seem to get busier and what have you. Without the stress for the parents as much as for the children, not having to travel somewhere as well is not to be underestimated. You know, right, come on, we're on with Sarah in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Get yourself in front of the screen.
I'll
go and finish the dinner whilst you're doing that. I mean, that's I think there are so many so much icing on the cake in addition to this incredible level of knowledge and education that you are providing. So I love how you've shared how you progressed and transisted into your business. What does your current business look like now?
I think it's completely different, Jo. It's
different again.
I'm not one to stand still. I'm quite a dynamic person. Literally, don't stand still. But it's grown to more than I ever imagined. But that's one of the things I love most about kind of running my business, is the directions that you can take it in. So now I do a mixture of online and face-to-face. So in the daytime, I travel to students who are homeschooled or home educated. It's more like homeschooling because it's typically students who want to go through the process of doing exams as a private candidate. And that might have been a choice. So they might have decided that their families value so that we want to home educate our children or homeschool our children. Or what I'm seeing more and more is children coming out of mainstream school due to SEN needs that are not being met, or mental health problems that the child just needs to reduce the demands on them in the day. School is very demanding. And so I see those children in the day. Occasionally a college student who has a free period to slip them in. And then in the evening, tend to have more mainstream school students. And I've running another group this year. So that's a change for me this year. So I run some groups in the evening for GCSE students and now for younger students, years 7 to 9 in maths, and then dotted with one-to-one students as well. And then on Saturday mornings, I go around the local area face-to-face. So it's a real change. I've had to change to all online in the evenings in the week because my husband's job has changed and he's doing a lot more worldwide travel. So it's not even like he's local and can make it home by X o'clock. So I've again adapted to kind of what's going on in our family at that time. New routines you spoke about at the beginning. Every year feels like a new routine sometimes with new students coming in and new situations. But Definitely. It's really grown. It's full-time. It's very much not a job. It's now a career. It's a profession. That's how I view it. I've done little bits and pieces of jobs, but this is a career for me now. This is something I love and can grow and nurture.
How very empowering. I love that. This is a career. It's just inspiring. It really is. And I think it's important to point out how you have had to shape it around your needs and your lifestyle, your family dynamic, like you say, with your husband traveling and what have you. And this is one of the most incredible and privileged parts of running a business for ourselves. I don't underestimate the sacrifices we have to make and the struggles that can also come from running our own business. So I always like to balance that. But it is such a privilege, and to be able to make that work for yourself and for your family is incredibly positive for people to be able to listen to, because there are people tuning in here who are thinking, perhaps I could run my own business. Is it a dream? Is it something I could actually do? So I think it's really important to share these things. So let's move on to one of the two things actually, I've kind of got three things, if we've got time, that I'd love to focus on today. And that is children's well-being. And I guess it's not just children, it is teenagers and college students as well.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk about what you experience, what you perhaps recognise that their needs are, aside from the maths and the science, the subject, the core subject. And how does working with you one-to-one or in the groups have a positive impact on these people's well-being?
Yeah, I strongly believe that young people need role models that are outside of their home in some way, shape or form. Coaches, mentors, tutors. And I do think tutors fit that role really well, that we can really be positive role models, even if it's tutoring is actually usually someone's second job they've tried, third job they've tried. They've had previous careers, maybe as a teacher. Lots of teachers are leaving, going into tutoring, or scientists like myself. And I think we bring that advantage as well, and that we've kind of had a bit more worldly life before it. So it's not just about teaching the subject, like you say. It's about being a sort of positive role model, somebody they can come to. And quite often we start a tuition session with, how are you? What's it been like? And it's not just that formality of, oh, hi, how are you? I'm all right. And I go, okay, I try and remember something about that student, or what happened when you did that, or how did X go or Y go or whatever, and always start with a conversation, because I think actually one-to-one tutoring is a conversation. It's not me sitting down, right, we're doing this worksheet now run through it, because they have that at school, and they've got a tutor for a reason that maybe hasn't worked for them. And so I can be that person that they maybe talk to or share things with, or just offload, get stuff off their chest. They don't need any action from me.
Something I wanted to just touch upon is, in addition to everything that they're learning from you, all that wisdom and getting themselves prepared for exams and what have you, I believe that one of the massive positive impacts has to be that being one-to-one and being the person that you are. And I think it's really important. I'm sure there are tutors and there are tutors, but being the person that you are, I think that you provide a really, and I find I'm emotional thinking about this, I think you provide a really important place in their lives, because you are letting them know that they are seen and that they are heard. Like you say, you're not just going, hi, how are you? And you expect fine. And then straight on, right, this is what we're doing today. And I worry a little bit in this modern world where everything's about online, and we're losing, I think children are losing that ability to learn how to communicate, how to feel seen as a person, not as a, I don't know, Instagram handle, even though Instagram's probably just for oldies like me now, but you know what I mean. And I feel that if there's any opportunity in a child's life where we can allow them to be really, really seen, aptly, so much so that they can feel it, I think it must have a very positive impact on their well-being. Would you agree?
I agree, Jack, and I think none more so than for children who are experiencing anxiety, depression, loneliness. That's a very lonely place to be as a teenager. I predominantly work with teenagers, sort of ages 11 to 18. And if they have come out of school or can't get into school through conditions that are emotionally based, school non-attendance, they've lost their friendship group almost as well. They're not seeing their friends every day. And I'm not there to be a friend, but I'm certainly there as somebody to talk to about it and mull ideas over. I think teenagers have always got a bad rap. They always seem to, have you noticed? And I love working with teenagers. I have specifically chosen not to tutor primary school students. I did that very early on, as most tutors do. I'll just take any work. And then I quickly realised that's not me. I don't really enjoy it. I really, really enjoy working with that older age group, that young adult age group. You get so much creativity from them, so many fantastic ideas that the world hasn't squashed down their dreams yet. And you can facilitate that. You can, be really positive with them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think as a society, we can be quick. And I don't use myself in this example, but as a society, I feel that teenagers and young adults can be very quickly almost written off. And
they're unruly, they're troublemakers.
yeah, and
Yeah, they're antisocial.
all tarred with the same brush, and you just think, hang on a minute. And actually, at the tea room, I work part-time. I work with some young teenagers from the age of sort of 16 up to probably about 20, well, up into their early 20s, and the conversations I have with them and the interest they have in things that I do. You know, they all wanted, that I've written poetry and started sharing it recently. They all wanted a poem of mine. So they've all got one on their pin boards at home. And they're like, Jo, I look at your words when I need inspiration. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how incredible. You know, they are human beings. And so I love that you offer a really holistic offering.
Yeah. Thank you.
So do you feel that when a child or a teenager's well-being is not great, it is hard for them to learn? Do you have to adjust the way that you teach? You talked about anxiety and things, because I had to be out of school due to panic attacks and anxiety not long before my GCSEs. And there was nothing, there was no opportunity of home learning. And so when you talked about that loneliness, I felt that loneliness.
Yes, 100%. I think if somebody is experiencing physical illness, mental illness, or, sort of emotional sort of based problems, anxiety, panic attacks, that's not the right space to learn anything. And that's exactly why they can't attend school. It's not a choice for them. They don't decide, I'm not going in today. They can't go in. They can't leave the front door. They can't get dressed sometimes.
That was me. I feel it. Yeah.
Oh, bless you. And then this is coming from personal experience myself as well. So,
really?
with someone else in my family. So I'd see it, in my family. But these children can't get in. So they do need a more gentle, calmer approach. And that's not to say we're going to water down the content of what they eventually learn. They still learn all the hard stuff, but we just have to go about it in a different way. So I have lots of students like this that I see in the day. Yeah, many. In fact, the majority are that I see in my daytime work. But it gives me a wonderful opportunity to find out what they like to do. There's always a way I can weave maths in. And science naturally lends its hand to itself. All teenagers are still curious, like you said, tons of questions. And sometimes we go off on a tangent. So yesterday I was tutoring a young girl, again, who's out of school. And, my plan was we are going to learn about rocks. We're going to learn about different types of rocks, where they come from and how they're recycled. And we started off with that, but she had so many questions about the atmosphere and space and what's inside the earth. And so we focused on that, and it allowed me to kind of explore her curiosity.
Oh.
And there's always something up my sleeve, hands-on as well. So I have planned for her next week. We've been kind of started looking at rocks, and we're going to make different types of rocks out of different chocolate. So we're going to mold sedimentary rocks, and we're going to make igneous rocks out of chocolate, and then eventually she'll be able to eat it. But
I'm in. I think you're going to have another influx of kids to tutor, and parents probably. I want to learn science. I want to learn science and make chocolate.
I am. And I don't spend hours searching these things on the internet. They just I put them together in my head. I just think, right, what will show that kind of physics, or what will show that chemistry, or whatever it's like. I've done all sorts of things. I've had sporty kids who don't stop moving, maybe with ADHD. So we've done a math lesson on a trampoline. I'm not sure I'll do many of those again, but I've done that. I've made edible Play-Doh, and then they can mold it into shapes of anatomy that we've been learning about. I've made with children a model of the lungs just using toilet rolls and plastic bags. I just go for it. And that's the beauty of kind of actually being at home. They get a real multi-sensory experience. They're not sat at a desk facing me, writing out lines of work. They're still very much learning.
Yeah.
But it's really hands-on, and it's really fun, and hopefully they find it fun.
Wow.
But yeah, it's different. It's different.
Yeah, it sounds, you've brought it to life for me. I didn't realize that there could be that sort of practical element. So this is so useful for you to be sharing, and it does sound so engaging. So yeah, anyone, it must be a lovely distraction actually for them to be able to use their hands, when perhaps
Yeah.
their brain or their pounding heart can be on overdrive if they're at school and being affected by the worries about everyone else and what have you. So they can truly engage their whole self
Yeah.
into the learning.
You
And
see them over the weeks, you see them let down their guard because they're still very nervous. Someone is coming into their home, an
yeah,
adult is coming into their home.
yeah,
They've maybe had bad experience for teachers and they think this is another teacher, but it's inside my house. And then after a few weeks, and maybe they know, if they know practical's coming, they get really excited. They're like, oh, it's my favourite lesson.
oh.
So you can watch them unmask and let the guard down. And it's lovely. It's really nice. Yeah.
So we've talked about people perhaps who might struggle with mental health. There are some children in schools right now that are just struggling to learn,
Mm.
actually. And, it could be that they go in just dreading it, and that just almost
Mm.
blocks off the neural pathways. So they're just not going
Mm.
to take anything in. I honestly believe that people who will be listening to this today, who perhaps have children in that situation, might think, oh, hang on a minute. Okay, maybe to have a tutor isn't, it's not just sitting and writing lines on lines and
Mm.
lines of
Yeah.
stuff and being really intense.
Mm.
It's actually being far more intentional. What would you say to people that are thinking their children could do with some help, but they presume that tutoring will be far too costly and bound to be out of reach financially for them? Have you got
Yeah.
anything you can share there?
Yeah. I'd agree that tutors can be very expensive, and I'm definitely one of the top-ended tutors.
Yeah.
They are an investment. So, first of all, if there is a little bit of money, you might want to consider it is an investment and to trust the
Yes.
process, and eventually, over time, you'll start to see a change. However, I realise it's not financially viable for a lot of people. It is a luxury. It is a privilege to work as a tutor, and it's a privilege to have a tutor.
Yeah.
I myself never had anybody like that in my life. That was something my family couldn't afford. I don't even think it crossed their minds, to be honest.
No.
Tutoring was the thing that we could do that. And it's grown massively over the last few years. If there is a tutor you'd like to work with, or you've seen a tutor, I'd still get in touch and say, well, this is my budget. Even if your budget is zero, how can we get your expertise? Even if it's, can you point me in the direction of resources that my child can use, maybe online, that is going to be useful for them? And this is one of the things we talk about changing my business. This is one of the things I've changed intentionally, deliberately from COVID onwards, and that is to provide services at different levels. So people can work with me for £0, absolutely free. I've put things on my website like free resources, free exam study guides, and a free planner. Started a YouTube channel so you can watch my videos where they're aimed at your children, not at you, but they're aimed at your teenagers, and I walk through different questions and different topics for maths and sciences, and I've got one specifically on exam techniques for sciences. There's little bits I put on my social media, so maybe follow them on social media so you can put anything out there for free. I know lots of tutors doing this, and part of that is business, part of that is to kind of reel you in as a lead magnet. Would you like more that you can pay for? And some of it isn't. I'm more than happy to help people. And then, of course, group classes tend to be a bit cheaper than one-to-one.
Yeah.
It's not that the content is watered down in any way, certainly not with myself. You get the same me, you get the same value, same stuff I teach. But because it's a group, we can, tutors can run it more cheaply. And so that's a way, or you might just want one-offs. Is there just a topic that your child can't get past that barrier or get their head round, and maybe you just need a one-off session and that's it? And be upfront with that tutor and say, actually, we just need one or two. That's all we want to get past this sticking point. And I think if you've got a really good tutor, then they shouldn't have a problem with that. They should want to work with lots of people at different points, at different prices. Yeah. So I would say it's not out of reach for everybody. Do get in touch with tutors and see what they offer. And if it's not for you, you can walk away. It's okay. And I say that to all my clients. Try one or two, walk away. If I'm not for you, I'm not a match for everybody. My style is not a match for everybody.
Oh, thank you. That's so helpful. That's really, the way you've answered that is really uplifting, actually, to see that you are multi-layered in what you can offer and how you can offer it, how it's presented. I sometimes wonder whether we as parents might just think, well, a tutor is an extravagance. I can't possibly do it. And so what you have shared there is, hang on a minute, there is so much out there, resources online that are specifically there to help your children. And my goodness, if you can get them into your YouTube channel, not only you said some of your things you put out there are lead magnets and what have you, but they're also a very good way for a family to make a decision about you. Is this the person that, if we do invest in a tutor one-to-one, is this the person and the vibe that we are drawn to? And so, very much like an interview, isn't it? It's the person who is coming to get a job needs to see if they want to work with that employer. So thank you so much. I will ensure that we'll obviously have the link to your website, but I'd like to pop a specific link to your YouTube channel as well.
Thank you.
So people can.
I was going to say, it's very early stages. There's not a lot on there, but yeah.
Don't you worry at all. No, that's lovely. Well, people can get in there early. Get in there early, people. So just to round things to a little bit of a close before we come to my sort of general questions at the end, I just know there are a lot of people who, even going in to this new term, are unhappy with their children's experience of the education that they're receiving, or it might not even just be the education, it could be the surroundings, but school in general, and they're not sure which way to turn. I think some people feel that if they did decide to take them out of mainstream school, that it would essentially descend a little bit like in the pandemic, where suddenly we had to do everything. But I presume a tutor like yourself is, you could employ someone to do the maths and the science towards the, I don't know, say GCSE curriculum. Is that something that you have experienced?
Yeah, that's what I do day to day, Jo. That's what I do day to day. What I would say is, if you're a parent thinking that, do we take our child out of school? They're really struggling. Just think really carefully. That it's a huge, huge decision that will impact the entire family dynamic. That will change, because you have to have a parent home as well.
Yeah.
The other thing is, once that happens, a parent or guardian is completely financially responsible for the education.
Yeah.
And the education has to be what the government calls suitable, efficient and full-time, which they're extremely vague on if you look at the guidelines. It's a huge decision. And so actually, just over a year ago, I realised there wasn't enough guidance out there for parents. And I got together with another tutor and say, hey, do you want to write some proper informed guidance for parents? Because they're coming to me, they're overwhelmed, and they really just want to rip their child out of school. But when you do that, you rip away all the infrastructure too. And you might not be able to afford private tutors. So you might have to do it all from home and have a child that's super motivated to learn if you're doing it all yourself. That's quite a tricky situation. So I actually wrote guidance. It's on the Tutors Association website. It's long. It's going to take, a good few readings. But if you are a parent considering it, I would direct you to that first, to have a look at what will homeschooling, home education look like. What do you need in place for it? Is this something our family can actually do? And it's not to force you into homeschooling. I'm very pro homeschooling and very pro school. It's horses for courses, definitely. But it has put a lot of parents off that I've directed there and go, please really think about this in a whole way. What is this going to impact? My experience is I've had a few parents do that and then quickly become overwhelmed.
Crikey.
But if you do have the budget for tutors, you can get someone in, and an experienced homeschooling tutor like myself can also come in and help you with maybe write a timetable for your child and ensure that there's enough kind of talk to you about socialization. So over the years, Jo, I've put a pack together in our local area of home education groups where children can go based on whatever they like to do: horse riding, ice skating, there's forest schools. And I've put together a little pack of that I send to my home educating parents and say, right, if you're struggling for kind of ideas of social aspect, how am I going to get my child out of the house? You might like to try some of these things. Tutors can certainly come in with more than just academics, especially if they're experienced, and also help you through as being a private candidate through exams, because you need to book exam centres, and certain exam centres only sit certain exams. You've really got to work backwards. You've got to know 3 years maybe in advance of what course your child wants to sit so that you go to the right exam centre, travel's in place, they can meet SEN needs and accommodate that. So there's a lot to consider, but a tutor can help with all that and smooth the process for you.
Yeah, there's an awful lot to consider, and I think that we should also add the link to the Tutors Association piece that you did as well, because I just think that so many people who are perhaps struggling to work out what's best to do don't necessarily know which way to turn, and it can be easy for us to underestimate how much a school does do, even if they're not necessarily living up to our expectations with perhaps the teaching side of things. But there is an awful lot that does happen, just happens as far as we're concerned, but it has to be, someone has to do it. That's really, really useful. Oh, I feel like I've learned so much. I feel as though I've got so much more depth to what you do, and I'm so very lit up inside to think how incredibly you support all of these different children and young adults in all of those different ways that they need at that time in their life, you know, depending on what they're going through, depending on what perhaps SEN needs they have. And it sounds like you are so malleable and will make sure that you offer each individual exactly what they need. So we've talked about lots of the positive things and what a privilege it is. What's the toughest thing you find about working for yourself?
I think certainly in the business that I do, in the tutoring world, the feast and the famine seasons. I've just gone through a famine just after summer. And I know there's lots of other businesses that kind of have peaks and troughs in kind of their business. I know it's coming. See, that's the advantage, I guess, is that I know when the trough is coming. I know that my very, very quiet season is kind of mid-July to mid-September. So those kind of 2 months there, well, I know I'm going to get next to nothing coming in income-wise. So I have to plan for that. I have to squirrel away. Some years are better than others, and I have to dip into savings. And there's always that fear, I think, as a business owner, is the business going to pick up again? And even now, even all these years down the line, you know, 7.5 years working as for this business, and I still think when September rolls around, I hope people come and inquire, and I know they will, but it's always nagging. And I think that's the hardest thing for me running the business, is rising the highs and the lows. The highs are brilliant. I think, oh, brilliant, I'm fully booked for everything. It's amazing. And then you get a huge crash. And so that's definitely the hardest thing for me.
Yeah, I can fully understand that. And I like that you trust in that, you know, that it will pick up again. And I guess with the shape of a school year, you know, like you say, when the peaks are going to be. And yeah, I guess you keep yourself trusting during that time when, you know, things aren't coming in. So come on then, can you narrow it down to one thing? What is the best thing about running your own business?
The best thing, I'm a control freak, Jo. I like to be in control. And so this is my one thing I can control.
Yes.
I work the hours I want to work. most of the time, but I can set my hours, and I've got better at that. I've got better at setting when I work. I can be as creative as I want to be. Yes, there's certain practicals you have to do with children if you're preparing for exams, but let's add a little twist to it. Let's make it with chocolate.
Yes.
not whatever else, cardboard it was. I love that aspect that I'm in control. I can drive it in the direction I want. I can choose how my day looks, and and even, like you said, specifically for a specific child, what their education will look like as well. That's really nice.
I love that, and I can feel it. I can feel how much it lights you up, and all that you take from it. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you. That's brilliant. And my final question is around, how does she do it? Because, I do believe that we can't do it all. We can do everything, but we can't do it all at the same time. And so I wonder, is there one thing that you perhaps don't do anymore to make your life flow better, or perhaps something that you do without hesitation because you know that keeps you on track?
You've said something there before I answer that question, where we can have it all, we can do it all, but not all at the same time. And Jo, I've listened from your very first podcast, your very first episode, and that was a light bulb moment for me. That was a release. Yeah, honestly, I say it all the time. I've taken it with me. You have given so many people permission to have it all, but not all at the same time, and realize I can put that aside. And I felt like you gave me permission. So first of all, I want to thank you for that wisdom. Honestly, that really has been so wise.
Really?
I've taken it on board ever since that first episode. I think you said that.
Thank you. You've made me, I'm bawling my eyes out here.
Oh no, it's true, Jo. Honestly, it's absolutely sincere. And for me, my non-negotiable is movement, is exercise. I've exercised, I've trained, whatever you want to call it, since the age really seriously of 16. And it kind of was a bit of fun. And then after my second child, from mid-30s, I thought, right, taking this seriously now. It's time to get strong. I don't need to look so good. Like we're all obsessed with our looks in our 20s and everything. And I thought, no, time to get strong. And for me, doing something every day, it's strong for my mental health. It's therapy for me. And I love my Pilates, my weights. This morning I did a little bit of yoga before I've come on. And it's a non-negotiable, is movement. That's what drives me. That's what keeps me healthy and going, not just physically, but everything, mentally, emotionally.
Oh, that's going to be such a wonderful message for people to hear. I think, especially as I don't really subscribe to New Year's resolutions. And so I love that this podcast it'll be released, it'll be put out there before we get to Christmas, like long before we get to Christmas, actually. So you've lit something up inside of me, because I've been thinking I really want to start getting stronger, as I'm heading, I'm perimenopausal and I know what I need to do, but it's about doing it regularly. So thank you for inspiring me. And I know that you'll inspire others as well. And I think that if you haven't done enough physical movement until this point, then today is the best day to start doing it. And I know that you will make an impact on people by sharing that with us. So thank you. And before we say goodbye, I don't really want this to end. I did have many more questions I'd have loved to have asked you, but you can always come back another time if that's all right.
I'd love to. Yeah.
I've really loved giving you the opportunity to share with myself and our listeners so much, and you shared wisdom, so much inspiration, and I do think that you will have unlocked some doors for people, actually. So I don't doubt that people are going to, who perhaps might have been feeling stuck, are going to get out there and start exploring things now. And as I say, all of the links that you have mentioned today will be in the show notes. But before we go, is there anything you'd like to share with us that you have coming up, or let us know how we can track you down online?
Yeah, sure. So coming up, I run weekly groups for GCSE Maths and Science and Key Stage 3 Maths. And there's usually a last few slots at this point in time available. But every school holidays, I run exam-specific workshops for GCSE Maths and GCSE Sciences, so each of the sciences. And they are targeted really in that exam preparation, getting your team through their exams with exam techniques. So it's a little bit of content, but it's more about what happens when we have this question and how do we answer it. It's about the techniques of laying it out properly so you get the maximum marks you can get, really. So look out on my website for those. So certainly you can get in touch through my website, which is sbtutoringuk.com. I'm on Facebook as SB Tutoring UK. I'm on Instagram, not particularly great on it, but I'm on there. And I'm on LinkedIn as well. So if you're a tutor listening to this, or you're thinking about, is tutoring for me? I want to leave what I'm currently doing. Please get in touch. And I'm Sarah Brouner on LinkedIn. Yeah, I've had many tutors reach out to me and I've wrote articles about it online as well, about starting your own business. So feel free.
Awesome.
Feel free.
You're such a cheerleader, and so collaborative as well, which is brilliant. It's not about the competition, it's about the connection. And I'm sure you would do for someone else what you'd love someone else to do for you. It's just, I feel it puts good vibes out into the world. So thank you for that. I'll put all your links in the show notes, but for now I need to thank you so much for your time, and I'd love to get together for a coffee sometime, because I feel I want the conversation to carry on. So thank you so much for coming, Sarah, and I really appreciate you.
Oh, pleasure. Thank you so much, Jo.
Thank you so much for listening today. I really hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, I'd love you to take a moment to share and subscribe too. Come and join me over at How Does She Do It Life on both Facebook and Instagram. And until we speak again, I wish you a wonderful week ahead.